We love it when it works and we love it when it doesn't.
I've had a very interesting technological week. It's all good.
Oh, good. Well, for some reason, it's just saying, please wait. So what I may do, if you all are okay with this, I may cancel the streaming. We'll just record it and then we can all post it out there. Are you all good with
Sure.
that?
Do
Sure.
what you need to do.
Pardon me?
Whatever works for you, honey.
Okay.
We're not,
Okay.
yeah.
Good deal. All right, here we go with the recording then. Oops, let's see. Welcome to Collaboration Conversations. I'm your host, Regina Partain-Bergman, CEO of Bridgeport Strategy and co-founder of the CEO Holy Grail. I am thrilled to welcome my guest co-host for this show. I have known this man for some time. We served in a mastermind together, got to know him really well through that process, and think extremely highly of him and appreciate the good work that he does in the world. So please welcome my guest co-host, Tim Hyde, who is founder, and I love this, chief fixer of Win More Clients. Welcome, Tim.
Great to be here, Regina. Great to be here. I'm
Awesome.
just actually trying to remember back when we first connected. I think it was, there we go, went back 2019. So
2019. Wow. It's been a
Pre-COVID.
minute. It's been a
that's
minute.
right. We discovered the internet before COVID, which was
That's right.
which was amazing. But yeah,
Yep.
I great respect for the work that you do with your clients as well, and
Excellent.
it's wonderful to be able to sort of reconnect in this
Thank
forum
you.
today with the amazing Virginia Muzquiz and Susan K. Younger, who are both fellow Americans of yours. I'm streaming in from Australia this morning.
Nice.
It must be late afternoon for you guys.
Yeah, it is. Early evening.
Evening. You're East Coast, aren't you, Susan?
No, I'm in Dallas. Central.
Okay.
Dallas. Oh, we're neighbors. I'm in
Yeah.
Houston.
Central time. I'm in St. Louis, but I'll fly there and meet
Yeah.
with you ladies if you want.
Well,
I've got
and I
friends
was
Austin.
born in St. Louis, Virginia.
And
so,
I'm,
you know,
and
there's
I've
another
got
connection.
Midwestern roots. So yeah, that whole central zone.
Awesome.
Oh, wonderful.
Awesome.
Well, there we go.
So there
I'm
you
gonna
go,
fly out
Tim.
there.
Not only do you not have a necklace, but you're not from the Midwest. How are you feeling?
Poor Tim.
How connected
Poor
are you
Tim.
feeling now, Tim?
I'm feeling super connected. There you go. It's my
Oh, there he goes. There he goes.
Nice.
necklace. I
We're
could
going to
probably turn this
pretend
into
that's
I could probably
pearls.
turn this
But
into a little string, a Western string tie, Texan
Yeah.
string tie.
there you
I
go.
love
There
it.
you
The
go.
bolo.
Fantastic. Well, look, wonderful to be here, Regina, and I'm super passionate about this topic.
Excellent.
Having spent 30 odd years in marketing now, and always found it really interesting that as marketing agencies, a lot of the thing that we push is social media, Google ads, print, TV, radio, whatever it happened to be historically, and yet if you ask anyone, particularly in professional services, where most of their business comes, they'll say it comes from referrals and partnerships.
Yep, absolutely.
And it's always fascinating to me to then say, hey, so many of us are out there sort of pushing this other agenda, which is super important and incredibly scalable. But partnerships, particularly as we get the foundations of our business in place, are so absolutely critical to growing and establishing our business in the first place.
It is. Tim, I would love for folks to get to know you a little bit better. So I'd love for you to share a bit about your journey, how you got to where you are now, who you're serving, and why that's important to you.
Well, to be honest, good question, Regina. I didn't grow up in an entrepreneurial family. In fact, I think as far back as I know, no one in my family has been, the black sheep and gone down to be an entrepreneur or business owner.
Interesting.
I am the first one. And to be honest, I blame my Uncle Scrooge golden book that my parents gave me as a sort of 4 or 5 year old. Right. And I still to this day remember Uncle Scrooge would row his little dinghy around his money pit of gold and then dive in. And it looked like he was having so much fun. And from that moment on, I was fascinated with how I could get everyone I meet, like, to give me $1 in exchange for some kind of value that would transform their life,
Right.
and help them have fun. And so I tried a whole bunch of things in high school and in my early 20s in business. Found myself going slowly brain dead in the Australian public service, and then launched with a couple of mates a social media site in Australia. And that was really my journey into, I guess, a proper business, which was super fascinating because I'd come out of the tech space, as a sort of field of study. And what I was seeing in the way businesses operated was that they would start a customer journey, like almost going on a first date, and then they'd have bits of broken code in their way that they move customers from first awareness through to raving fans of them. Now, with any relationship, it didn't matter if it was customers or referral partners or whatever. And I just saw it as bits of broken code that needed to be fixed. And when I left that business in 2014, I got into CRM and automation, which allowed us basically to have more relationships at scale.
Yes.
And as long as we architected the customer journey in the right way, we'd be able to serve more people.
Right.
And so that's been my journey over the last 30 odd years. Actually, is working with clients on building that. And the one thing I was actually on the call yesterday. The one thing that we were talking about partnerships. That ultimately you'll have more referral business if you just hang with more people.
True.
More often, right? As simple as that. If you have more friends, you'll do better.
Is there a
So that was,
particular type of business or level of business that you work with, Tim?
Look, to be honest, it's I've worked with everyone from clairvoyance and startup businesses right through to multinational mining companies and stuff. But I think there's a certain point in our business journey that we get to the point where things start to get a little bit out of control. And
Agreed.
we need some systems to be able to manage the number of conversations and relationships that we have, whether it's with staff, whether it's with customers, whether it's with prospects, whether it's with key strategic partners. And if we don't manage those relationships and don't treat them with importance, they will not treat us with importance either.
Yes, agreed.
Right? If you look at even Coca-Cola spend $5.5 billion a year in advertising spend, marketing spend, which represents about 11% of their revenue. But they don't actually have as many customers. Their customers are distributors, not necessarily the end person who's buying Coca-Cola.
Right.
And if they didn't have relationships with those distributors, they wouldn't be able to get their product into every shop in the world where we as consumers can go and buy it. And I think that's an interesting thing. There's this point in business where we kind of go, it's getting a bit out of control. I need to create some sort of organizational leverage. And that's the clients I serve. Generally speaking, in professional services, but it doesn't really matter. It's the same journey for most people.
Yeah.
And what I love about that, is when we get it right, it allows us to have a greater impact, not just on our clients' world, but our own as well. And that's really what drives me.
Excellent. I love that, Tim. And thank you for all the work that you do. And you and I have talked numbers a bit over the years and different things. And I know you're helping a lot of folks out there. So appreciate that.
Thank you.
Tim, would you please introduce our guests and have them do the
Susan
same
and
thing?
Virginia, both amazing women in my world, and absolutely thrilled that they can both join us today. Hopefully Lloyd can jump on as well, who's got a different perspective too. But I'd love to throw over to Susan to start with. Susan, tell us a bit about you, your journey, who you serve, and why you do it.
So I am a bit of a mixed bag because I started out in architecture and knew I wanted to do it from the time I was a small girl drawing houses as mom and dad moved. And mom says, God, I should have saved some of those pictures because they were funny, but I knew I wanted to do architecture. And when others were being told they shouldn't go after something that was unlikely as a women's career, I was blessed to have parents who said, if you want it, go for it. I got a degree from Iowa State in architecture, worked with a small firm in Iowa, had looked at moving to Dallas in '74, and I hit Texas the same time the oil embargo and Nixon was leaving the White House, and I had to go back and ask a firm that had offered me a job if they would hire me, even though they had already hired somebody to take a position. But they were, I think it starts with your partnerships early on. They were happy with my internship, so they were willing to extend work to me. So I did small things like houses and school renovations and office buildings, and then was later hired by one of the firms I had interviewed with in that first trip when things started to expand again later in the 70s. And so I started doing department stores and went from being the only girl in the production department to eventually handling the lead on projects and becoming the director of store planning for a department store. So I got to go through the fun time with retail in the 80s, but I also went through some of the downfall of retail in the 90s when the company I was working with went through bankruptcy. And I was forced to open a store 3 weeks after the company declared bankruptcy. So you talk about collaboration when you're dealing with vendors that are supplying furniture and fixture work and doing the construction, and you know they are going to get pennies on the dollar for what they are owed, and they are doing it because they trust you and the collaboration you have done for them, that you will help to give them any support you can in encouraging others to hire them because of the good work they have done for you. So from there, I at a certain point went, I think I am kind of out of this, started doing massage therapy on the side while working for design firms. And for 25 years, have had one client that does repurpose furniture and brand new furniture. So I'm helping him right now with an installation of 7 floors of furniture in a high rise here in Dallas. Have done everything from, small work to large work. And 10 years ago was introduced to Bank Code, which is a personality science that helps you to identify how and why your message is not connecting because you're speaking from your values instead of the values of others. And I see everybody's head nodding because it's not something that is brand new. But I love being a certified trainer in that and being able to help others to understand how their message is not connecting, how their team is not connecting, and why they are not necessarily connecting with some of their internal team or the clients that they're going after. So how's that for a mixed bag of tricks? But yeah, I love Bank Code and just think it's a fabulous tool.
Yeah, certainly is. Certainly is. Now, Virginia is our little secret luminary here.
A secret luminary. Okay.
I actually first met Virginia through, ironically, a relationship community run by a gentleman named Dove Gordon out of Israel. He runs a community called the JVMM, so Joint Venture Mastermind Member. I don't know, what's the MM stand for, Virginia? I'm not actually sure.
It's Joint Venture Mastermind, but we actually just rebranded it because, I partnered with Dove, and so it's called JV Grow.
Yeah, so it's all about bringing together incredible people from around the world to establish joint ventures, which is obviously the topic of today's conversation. Virginia, I'll throw to you. Same questions. Tell us about you.
So I'm fondly, or maybe not so fondly, known as the referral diva.
I love it.
It was awarded to me by a branding consultant who wanted to set me up on Twitter, and I was like, I don't do social media. I'm not gonna tweet. It's so dumb. And the owner came through and said, Tim, what's the problem? And he's like, oh my God, she's so difficult. I want to get a Twitter handle. And Brandon goes, oh my God, quit being such a diva. And Tim goes, that's it. You're the referral diva in all your glory. Brilliant woman, really talented, and a pain in my. Yeah. So that's been me for almost 20 years now. I was born to an entrepreneurial dad who left corporate America when Univac and RAC merged to create Unisys. And they told him that they were going to keep him, but his first order of business was to fire all his people. And he said, I'm a Navy man, and a Navy man goes down with his ship. And so they handed him a box, and they were like, see you, John. So he moved us from Long Island, New York, out to like this country in Bumbledoodle, New Jersey, where there was hunting and fishing and a garden and fruit trees. He said, there's a roof over your head and you won't starve, and I'm going to go build a business. And that's what he did. He is, I learned everything that I know about entrepreneurship from my dad. And he's an Arnold coot who loved his community, loved business, loved people, and hated government his entire life, and thought that entrepreneurship was just disruptive and subversive and everybody should do it, right? So that's where I get, like, that's where my Spitfire comes from.
I love that. I imagine his views haven't changed over the years.
Right? Like, I mean, I look like my mom, but I talk like my dad. There's no doubt. There's no doubt. I'm my daddy's girl. So I've done everything from being a high school teacher to a university professor to a Mary Kay sales director to the vice president of contract services for a tutoring franchise, a guy who had 7 locations. Then I came out of that. I opened up a coaching company, bought 2 BNI franchises, and here I am. My passion is to help solo entrepreneurs add 6 figures to their income so that they have the financial freedom to do the stuff they love and the time to enjoy it. And so for me, it's all about building relationships in business that preserve your relationships in your home. So many entrepreneurs fall apart because they just money, and they're always in the struggle, and they're always on the roller coaster, and they're always tumbling and upside down, and they miss out on baseball games and ballet recitals. And that was my dad. My dad missed out on so much. And so my real passion is helping people make money using the leverage that partnerships give you, while preserving the things that matter most. Because really, when we die, somebody else is going to own all our stuff.
Yeah, good point.
That's just the reality, right?
You.
Like, you can't take it with you. When you think about it, you're like, oh, I'm going to accumulate. You're like, you're buying stuff for a future garage sale. Really? Like,
yeah, that's true. That's so true.
So, I mean, so that's kind of my jam. I love the leverage that networks have. So the idea that we could all get together and all be in a different network, know each other really well, and where one of us is, we all are. And that for me is the beauty of networking, and really real networking, and the kind of partnerships that my dad taught me to forge. People who will write you the check when you need it, right? It's not just about giving referrals or whatever, but that guy who wrote my dad that $5,000 check, and that $10,000 check my dad wrote to that restaurant owner when that restaurant owner needed it. You got to surround yourself with those kind of people. And I think that's really a big part of who I am and what I'm passionate about.
That's
well, Virginia,
beautiful.
It is. And Virginia, we have a couple of things in common.
Yeah.
So I was born in St. Louis. You live in St. Louis. I was a Mary Kay senior sales director.
Nice. Very nice, Regina.
Years ago. Years and years ago.
I used to have 7 diamond rings, but my mother-in-law has them right now. And she told everybody in the family, like, when I die, these are hers. Yes. So, but she likes wearing them. I don't wear a lot of jewelry, but yeah, lots of diamond rings, few free cars. It was fun.
Very
Hey, I'm
good. Well, you did better than I did. I didn't get any of that. So, but I did have fun doing it.
Yeah.
I love your stories, all of them. And I'm thinking that I want to pick up on something that Virginia said there. And coming back to leverage, the leverage of the networks that we have. So let's talk about how people do that. What we want to do here is give some value to our listeners that help them go out and create better relationships, partnerships, collaborations, and they see the value that they may not have seen previously. So let's talk about that. How do you leverage networks? Are you all in BNI? Or no? Okay.
Virginia and I
Okay.
am.
Okay.
No,
Susan,
I'm in
you and I are not.
I'm in C-Suite Network. And that's how Tim and I are connected through the C-Suite Network.
Okay. Got it. I'm familiar with
I'm
that.
one of those
Yeah.
crazy people, Regina. I think I do between 5 and 7 networking events every week.
Every week. Ah,
Every
Lloyd
week.
is here. So
And Lloyd's
before we
jumped in.
dive
Awesome.
in, let's have Lloyd introduce himself.
Oh,
So,
cool.
Whoops. Well, he was there. Oh, there he is. Hang on. One waiting. And then we'll let him introduce himself and then we'll dive into that. Okay. Perfect timing.
Here we
Absolute
have
perfect
Lloyd.
timing, Lloyd.
Good man. We got the time zone right now. We're
Oh.
on. All right, we've just done a super quick round of introductions, and your timing is impeccable.
Wow,
Before
perfect.
we go on to other conversations. Lloyd and I can't remember where we met. Lloyd, was it on LinkedIn?
I think it must have been a LinkedIn
Must have been on
connection.
LinkedIn. We just hit it off really well, and have become quite good mates over the years, over the last few years now, and constantly sort of check in and what each other are doing. Lloyd's a recent father, so congratulations to Lloyd.
Thank you.
Congratulations.
Yeah, explains the hair this morning. This is it. And then I had a message this morning, Tim saying we're on now, and in my calendar I had it at 9 a.m. Sydney. So I was like, right, okay, run around the apartment like a headless chicken. So here I am.
This is why you have like virtual backgrounds and bird backgrounds.
Yeah, quick, hide all the things.
Hide the mess.
Yeah.
So, mate, I'd love you to introduce yourself. Tell us a bit about your journey into entrepreneurship and who you serve and why.
Yeah, so my name is Lloyd. My business is Virtual DOO, and we help busy business owners with teams escape the day-to-day operations so that they can scale without being the bottleneck. And I do this by providing them with an operator who works in their business on a fractional month-by-month basis. And our objectives are to help that founder get more time, operational smoothness, and profit. As to my journey, until about 4.5 years ago, I was in corporate. I was leading quite large engineering teams, been working on trading platforms and real-time payments, and running teams in different geographical locations, putting in complex software for financial institutions.
Mm-hmm.
And so a couple of things happened. I think, like many people, when COVID occurs, we had to rethink about what we wanted to do. And for me, I was one of those people. And in my business life, what was working well, my team had been used to running remotely. So my onshore team in Sydney, where I am, had been used to running remotely. I'd got the teams onto laptops. They had flexible work from home policies. And my team offshore were also able to work in the office and remotely. So I was never a line of sight manager. So I was pretty comfortable with running remote teams and getting good outcomes. And then when COVID happened, our business continued seamlessly. But in my personal life, I just thought, I don't want to go back to a brightly lit office after COVID. And I quite enjoy the ability to get up early in the morning, do exercise, not have that commute. So that was my own personal rationale for wanting to do something different. And it just so happened that I met a business coach in my my surfing community. That's what I was doing in the new time before work.
Literally on a surfboard, waiting for a wave.
Yes, I met him on a board, and I just asked him. I said, I run quite large remote teams. How can I, I've got these skills. How can I turn this into a business? How can I do something with this? I enjoy problem solving. I enjoy dealing with complexity, and that was the beginning of a lot of conversations. And then at some point he said, you know what, I've got some clients that I think you could really help. And one was a large e-commerce owner who the founder was, let's say he had a team of 20 or 30. He was just scattergunning the team with tasks every single day, just running on adrenaline, has a great product, but just the rhythms and the structures to get things running operationally smooth. He didn't know so much about that. He's a classic creative visionary,
yeah.
And we need those people to create the products and create the businesses. but he wasn't someone that would be putting in repetitive rhythms, dashboards, and feedback loops that create operational smoothness. And so I quit my job. I started a retainer with him, and which was a big gamble. And so that became the beginning of virtual DOO, and that was a fractional engagement, meaning that I could serve other clients openly, and so I took on more clients, and I think 3 was where I could comfortably serve 3 clients at a time, and that became my business model. So eventually, as I found more clients, I found people within my network, taught them the things that I'd learned, simplified frameworks, and that's how my business has gone today. So today now we have still a small business, but we serve clients across globally. So I have a small team that spans the UK, the US, and Australia, and most of my work seems to come out of the US and Canada. And my fractional operators typically serve between 1 and 3 clients. And the objective is, as I said, get the founder more time, get the operation running smooth, and allow it to scale without the founder being the bottleneck.
One of the things I love about the work that Lloyd and his team does is that at a certain point, I think, business owners need to change. I was actually listening to a podcast recently from Clayton Mask, who's the founder of Fusionsoft and Keep, and he was talking that change happens at these multiples of 1 and 3 in revenue. So it happens at $1,000 a month, and 3,000, and 10,000, and 30,000, and 100,000, and 300,000, and so on, as you sort of grow your business. And I think you get to the point where you're going, I'm growing a business. I clearly got product market fit. People are buying my thing, but I don't know how to run a business.
Right.
And Lloyd's team can come in and say, all right, rather than you just kind of trying to work it out by trial and error, we'll come in and we'll kind of put that structure in so that you can focus on your expertise, which is, I think, is amazing. And the cool thing is, as a fractional employee, you don't necessarily need a full-time resource there. It comes in, does that transformation, and almost makes himself obsolete by eventually hiring his replacement, who's going to be your 2IC in your business as you move forward.
You explain that so beautifully, Tim. So if I could only capture some of those sound bites.
We're recording, Lloyd. We're recording.
It's recorded, Lloyd. Yeah.
Anyone would think I was in marketing.
Yeah, and that's a good point. I mean, that's a challenge I have as an ex-techie and ex-engineering mind, is we've got a habit of talking too much about the how and not thinking about what are the drivers and how to explain something succinctly. But Tim's absolutely right. Our objective is ultimately to make ourselves redundant, come in, see where the gaps are, see the patterns that we've implemented now for other similar businesses. And even if they're not directly similar, a lot of businesses have the same challenges, and then uplift the team and then eventually bow out. So that's how we work. Thanks for Tim for explaining
I think what's beautiful about Tim giving you that accolade is it's those sort of discussions by somebody else that invites others to want to collaborate with you, because they can say what problem you solve for them. And when you're trying to explain what you can do to them, they don't get it. They don't have the expertise to even understand what you're capable of doing for them. But Tim can talk about what the solution is that they feel after they've worked with you. And that's what they want to really know. They don't care how you do it. They just want it done. And I think there's frequently those things in partnerships and collaborations where somebody that knows you better than the potential client can say, here's what this individual or this team of people have been able to capably deliver to me or capably deliver to my client that I would have never been able to do on my own. And that's why I lock arms with them. That's why I get involved with them and bring them into this collaborative environment where we collectively can do something that none of us could do on our own. And my background being architecture, Lloyd, I completely understand that there are times that, there'd be a project that somebody knew somebody in the either Australia or the Far East, that needed something done, and they knew one person, and that one person pulled 4 or 5 of us together, and we were able to deliver something that a larger client connection couldn't have done for them, because their team would have been such that they were looking to hire 7 layers of people, that they really just needed the doers that we could be in a way that nobody else could do for them. And those sorts of things come about through those collaborations of like-minded peers, or people who have similar skills, but each of us has a different aspect of it that we bring the juiciness of, while somebody else is taking care of that other aspect that we don't really care about. And it's those coming together like that that really makes collaboration powerful.
I like what you said there, and how listening to how a problem is solved in someone else's words. And I see how in your position, being able to see the challenge and understand what collection of people could solve that, like the A team, who would be the A team that we bring in and solve this problem. Yeah,
exactly.
Very valuable.
Excellent.
And I think, what I have through the years, because I'm probably the oldest one in this group here, been able to see that there are times you've known somebody for years, maybe even more than a decade, and it has been the friendship, the things you did, like you were saying, you ran into each other surfing. It was those commonalities in life that allowed them to get to know you at a level that they may not have gotten to know you in a work environment, but it allowed them to know that you were a trusted individual that they could talk to about it at any level, and that allows it to be expanded into the work environment. I think those kind of connections create collaboration. There's a book that was recently put out by Karen Walren about dabbling and about being amateurs and stuff. And I think sometimes it's those things we are amateurs at doing that allow us to connect with people that we'd have never been able to walk into the door of their business and say, hi, hire me to do this. But they get to know us through some side thing that we're all interested in. And all of a sudden they're going, wait a minute, don't you do what I need? Let me talk to you about how you could serve me. Those are the things that I think a lot of people miss because they don't make those collaborative efforts outside of the workplace.
It's interesting
really,
that,
go ahead, Tim.
Just draw on that point, Virginia, because I know, Susan, I know Virginia and I would see this a lot in the B&I room as well. Right? You see people sort of go in there and they go, well, I'm going to sell to everybody in the room. And great, you might get 20 customers if you have a thing that everybody absolutely wants and needs, right? But it's probably not the case. Maybe the accountant or the plumber, everyone's going to at some point go, oh, you're the plumber, I'll buy from you. But if we start to look at the people in the room will buy from you anyway. But if you start looking at how do we create collaborations and partnerships and get to know each other, it's the people that we hang out with the most that will refer us the most often. And open doors and opportunities for us. And we don't make the effort to have that second date and the third date and the fourth date. We don't have a relationship with someone to open it up. And the weird thing about this is we actually don't need, like, if I said to, for most people ever said, if we gave you 100 clients right now, what would that do? And most people would go, holy shit, that would just break my business completely. I'd be so overwhelmed. 100 clients would transform the way my business operates completely. Right, Lloyd, you mentioned that most of your team has got they will operate between 1 and 3 customers, right? So you'd have
we would not handle
30 to 50 extra staff, right, to deliver that solution to your customers. But if we think about well, how do I suddenly get 100 opportunities, right? And you can probably do that in 1 year with just having 5 really key partnerships, right? 5 people that you catch up with regularly, who serve the same client as you, have the same or similar conversation as you, who are only having 1 meeting with a prospect that you could serve as well a day, and only finding, the numbers are sort of ridiculous. They don't have to find you 1 person a week out of all the conversations they have, or the 7 networking events that I have, the 20 odd meetings that I have a week. I'd have to find 1 person to introduce you to a day, And if I had
Mhm.
5 people like that, that's 250 opportunities a year for me to serve other people with what I do. I don't
The
need 250.
yeah. The
No,
other thing I find is like when I'm doing massage therapy, which I'm not doing as much of now as I used to, but the beauty of it was there was another gal that I met through a networking group. She was also a therapist, but our skills were different. But she wanted to be more of what she called a massage broker. And she would go to organizations and say, I can put together a team to service your event or to come in on, like to a teacher's group on an appreciation day for a school to do something of that nature. I'm like, go book those things. And yes, let me know and I'll work it into my schedule. I ended up with SMU as a client because of her. I ended up, with doing things at different universities and with football teams and basketball teams that knew her through what she was doing that allowed us to have extra work without us having to add those clients. And you started having certain seasonal businesses that added to your work at a time. And it was the sort of thing where others would say, oh, I can't be with anybody else in my industry. And it's like, yes, you can,
Yes, you
when you
can.
understand
Yeah.
how you work
Yeah.
together, not in
Exactly.
in competition, but in collaboration.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Virginia
I'd
had,
love to get your perspective.
Yeah, what I was thinking was, Regina, you had asked about the question of leverage, right? Like, how do we
which
leverage?
this is
And
leading to, right?
Tim was really bringing that home. And so I'm strategic and highly tactical. So you wanted something practical. So here's practical.
All right.
Okay. Tim goes to 7 networking events. He also has visitors that come into his BNI chapter, right? So at the end of a week, Tim probably has one of these.
So
It's a stack of business cards,
Gotcha.
right? It's got a stack. So what I do is I take my stacks of business cards, and when if Tim and I are one of those 5, he's one of what I call him allies, a business ally. Tim brings his stack of business cards from last month. I bring my stack of business cards from last month, and I'm like, yeah, I met this guy at an expo. And Tim goes, yeah, I want to know that person. I'm like, all right, well, how about this guy? He's like, yeah, no, I don't need that person. Okay, that person goes over here. So now suddenly Tim has been in every room that I have been in.
Wow.
Tim has been standing next to me, and it's super practical. Now, all I have to do is say, Tim, so you wanted to meet this Michael DeMaria guy. What do you want me to say? So then I open up my computer and I go, hey, Michael, we met at the expo. I'm sitting here with a really cool dude. His name is Tim Hyde. Tim, what do you want me to say? Tim does this, blah, 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 blah. Want to meet him? Like that. And I can do that 10 times sitting at a cafe with Tim, and we can leverage these 50, 60, 70 business cards. Now watch this. Now I do that with my other 5 to 6 to 7 partners. Like, here, who do you want to know? And I open up my computer, and right then and there, I make those introductions. And suddenly you start to feel like you are the most connected person on the planet. Because when this guy that I met at an expo just got an introduction to Lloyd and to Susan and Regina and Tim, he's like, who is this woman? Now suddenly I have love right here, biz love all over it. And it didn't cost me anything because y'all wanted to know him.
Right.
So I just made an email happen, right?
So powerful. Whether it's business cards or, opening up your calendar every week and just saying, who did you meet this week? That'd be a cool connection for me to start talking about the people you met.
Yeah. I love that.
It becomes incredibly powerful. It doesn't take long. Like, you can talk about the weather and, whatever else. But in 15 minutes, you've suddenly got these opportunities that you didn't have. And the cool thing I love about that as well, not just to the people you were introducing to, right? Saying they're going to come back and say, hey, Virginia, I've got this problem. Who do you know that can solve this thing for me? Let's I think we need to find a way to collaborate because you're introducing me to opportunities all the time.
Yeah.
That is one of the best I have heard on this show.
Yeah,
I've
I love
been doing
that.
this show for a number of years now, and that is one of the best suggestions I've heard.
Well, it's super tactical, right? Here's the other thing. I learned this from a gal named Kimberly Whitecamp. She blew my mind. I'm like, Kimberly, how do you do this?
Amazing. I did some things with her a few years ago.
She grabs the chat. When it's like, everybody put your information in the chat, right? She grabs that chat, throws it into Chat GPT, right? And with all the comments and everything, she takes that chat, and then she has ChatGPT create a spreadsheet with everybody's name, company name, whatever. And based on her criterion, she tells it to put it in the order that the ChatGPT believes that she should reach out to those people based on her criterion, based on the stuff they put in the chat. And I was like,
yeah,
I'm doing that right
right?
now. That's it.
Wow.
I've just started writing that prompt already, Virginia.
there you go, right?
Yeah.
Like,
I know, I'm taking notes.
and then look at this, where now imagine Tim GPT, right? Now I put in my best referral partners personas. Like, here's Tim, here's who he is, here's his demographics, here's his psychographics, here's who he likes to meet, whatever. And I take that same chat GPT, I take that same chat from the Zoom call or whatever, and I ask, okay, now tell me which of my referral partners should meet who. Like, go through and tag in there, and it will, based on those prompts. I mean, seriously, the way that you can leverage, right? So the key is where one of us is, all of us could be.
Yes.
With a
I'm
little
going to take that.
Great
I'm going to
soundbite.
take that one step further, Virginia, and actually have the chat GPT take their email address, do some research on them, and write personalized introductions to everybody.
Yeah. Awesome.
Oh, you know what'll do that? Evie will do that.
Yeah.
Evie AI will do that for you. Yeah. It's crazy. I mean, AI has really created a lot, but that business card thing I've been doing for 20 years, and it's why I'm as connected. During COVID, I call it the bag of shame. It's all the business cards you never called, right? And every time you look at it, you feel like the biggest loser because all the opportunity is passed.
Yeah.
It hasn't passed. Go in
Well,
there.
it comes back to that thing and that I sort of mentioned earlier, Virginia, right? Is that very few people get married on the first date.
Right.
Yeah.
It's not just about the initial connection and we exchange business cards and that's it. In fact, I recall an experiment a friend of mine was doing a couple of years back for a podcast, and we were at a conference together, and there was 3 of us, and Siobhan was the control, right? And she was just exchange business cards, do nothing particularly. It was like, hey, great chat, exchange business cards. Strangely enough, no opportunities. My friend Jemima, she's a comedic improv, as a side hustle. And she was a buyer for anything that you were selling. It did not matter what you were doing. Okay. She was like, oh my God, I've always wanted to join a network event. Or I'm in town for a couple of days. Can I get a massage? Right.
The biggest buyer.
I've been looking for a business coach or whatever. It didn't matter. Okay. That what she was doing. She would put on this improv, and she was a buyer, and she exchanged 74 business cards during that 2-day conference. Have a guess how many people. So this is the start of the relationship. Okay. And her hypothesis was, let's see who follows up and deepens the relationship further. Have a guess, out of 74, how many people called her up to book sales appointments? We got 3 from Virginia in advance on 3.
I'm not going to answer because I know the answer.
Yeah, Susan knows the answer. What do you reckon, Regina?
Out of 74?
Yeah.
Yeah, maybe 5 to 10, maybe.
No. She got 1 Facebook friend request, and that was it.
That's outrageous.
Wow.
Okay.
Wow.
But that's the thing, right? People, I guess, don't know these things. You get distracted with the minutiae of day-to-day and the next firefighting.
Yeah.
And you forget that it doesn't need 74. It doesn't need a giant shoebox full of business cards. It just needs a couple.
Yeah.
Using a tip like Virginia just shared, to use ChatGPT and say, who are the 3 people out of all these people I met that I should probably deepen a relationship based on these criteria?
You know,
and actually do the follow-up.
Right. I just had a friend come back from speaking at a conference, and she used the bank tool for, one of her things. So we've got a few people to follow up in that way. But she's now got a follow-up call with the sponsor of the event and the gal that led the group that was actually hosting the event. And she's now, last night, she and I were talking about how could we leverage what she did into something that expands upon, her saying, I'm her business partner in this other piece of business she shared, but she doesn't claim to be the expert in. I think there's so many times we can leverage each other in ways we don't stop to think about. You know, if somebody spoke at an event, who else do you know that could really be a great speaker for that group? Who in that group needs to know, like Virginia said, the people you just met? There's so many different levels of which we can explore the connections and the power of introducing each other.
Yeah.
It's like an expanding scope. You know, when I'm looking for how I'm going to solve a problem, I look in I try and introduce clients to clients a lot of the time because I know where their superpowers are. And so it's great. And I've got my Rolodex there of my suppliers. And because we just stay in one lane, pretty much, we're operations. I say, oh, okay, we've got the CMOs, the CFOs, the websites, designers, and so forth. And I know who I can go out to. And then occasionally I find, I don't know who's good at solving this particular problem. And so then that's when I go out again to other people in my network and I've gone, hey, Tim, who do you know who's a CFO located in this location? You know, who serves United Arab Emirates? Do you know someone or something like that? Because that's an expanding region, and then trying to get some more contacts there at the moment. And so that's why I think that just expanding out your network is so powerful.
Wow.
And if you know a company you want to work for, sometimes you think nobody knows anybody there. You just tell people what company it is and ask them, who do they know that works in that company, or who do they know that knows somebody? You know, I got a story where a gal kept complaining about this uncle at Thanksgiving that she just found so boring, but she wanted to work for this. She wanted to get work with a company. And when she finally opened up and talked to the uncle, she found out he actually worked for the company that she had been hoping to find a connection to, but had never spoke to him to get the information. And I think that's, you know, a simple conversation can sometimes be an amazing breakthrough.
Yeah. This has been fantastic. I think that you folks have elevated this conversation dramatically. Thank you. I have enjoyed this.
To all the guests.
I do not actually. I do tell everybody I love it because I learned so much from everybody, but this took it to a new level. Thank you all for that. But we are at the point where we need to do our wrap-up round. And before we start it, Tim, I want to ask Lloyd, will you put your contact information in the private chat, Lloyd? Up on the right-hand side, you'll see a chat button, and click on the private chat, and then click on my name and put your contact information there, okay?
Yeah.
And while you're doing that, Tim is going to start our wrap-up round. He's going to call on everybody for their final thoughts on collaboration and their contact information.
Okay, well, let's start with Virginia because she's dropped some absolute nuggets for us today. Virginia?
Look, I just really, you know, Tim and I are on the same page on this whole collaboration thing. For me, there's 5 steps to actually creating collaborative relationships. Most people stop dating too soon. So they become acquainted, maybe they have a cup of coffee, and nothing happens in that moment, so they don't pursue. And it's really imperative to be selective and strategic, but also to be a leader and move the conversations forward.
So true. So true. Well, Virginia, share how we get in contact with you, Virginia?
Oh yeah, Virginia Muzquiz, the referral diva. Connect with me on LinkedIn. You'll know me because I'm dressed up in a which side is it? That steampunk hat is on my head. Yeah, so I don't think there's another Virginia Muzquiz on LinkedIn. So yeah, connect with me on LinkedIn.
There's certainly not another one wearing a steampunk hat.
No, and the only other one I know of was a 1960s civil rights activist in Texas. So
I did see it come across the website a few years back. You could actually do a search for your name and it would tell you how many people in the US have the same name as you.
Yeah.
Interesting.
I think there was 12 or 13 Tim Hydes, which was kind of fun.
Yep.
Susan.
You know, I'm like, there's so much in this conversation. Everybody brought so much to the table. Thank you, Tim, for bringing us together. Thank you, Regina, for always doing these with others as well. what I love about this is it reminds us of stuff we sometimes know to do and we aren't doing. It's like, oh yeah, why am I not doing that? But the other piece for me is the fact that sometimes it's as simple as inviting people to dinner and bringing those people together that don't know each other, that you want to introduce, and it's you gave them something to talk about over dinner, and all of a sudden you've got the collaboration beginning that you never even knew you could create. And I think there's those simple things in life that are wonderful.
Absolutely. I am
Awesome.
posting your contact information,
Okay.
right?
No worries at all. Drop the details in there as well. We can find Susan.
You can find me on LinkedIn. And the reason I put my middle initial in there is, Tim, when you talk about who else has your name, by using my middle initial, I show up at the top of a Google search, because there might be another Susan Younger, but there doesn't seem to be another Susan K. Younger. So I started using that. Plus,
she's just not using her middle name, Susan.
Yeah.
What does the K, out of curiosity, what does the K stand for?
K-A-Y-E though. But here's the other piece. I love the fact that my initials are Sky, S-K-Y. So I knew a long time ago I was going to keep that name forever. So, and it never hurts to be able to say I'll always be younger.
I love it. I love it.
And I also, and thank you for sharing it, Regina. If somebody's interested in bank code, that is a complimentary opportunity for you to find out what your bank code is. And I'll be happy to have a discussion with you about it. And if it's something that you're interested in, how it might be helpful for you.
It's a great tool.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Lloyd, take it away, mate.
Yeah, for me, I think it's best to go deep with a few people than go broad and never take action. Like that story about your friend who had 74 connections from that event and only one person reached out is outrageous. So if you just find the hub, like the people that you know that you're going to enjoy talking to, they can help you connect to such a broader network. So go deep with just a few people. I love the discussion there about how if you had all of those business cards or you had a chat, that you could sort through them in an algorithmic way. And then I think from that is just to highlight just the few people that you know that you're going to commit to spending the time with. Otherwise, it's a waste of time. So I love that. But yeah, go deep with a few people. And as to contacting me, you can find me quite easily, Lloyd Thompson on LinkedIn or via my website, virtualdoo.com.
Awesome. Thanks, Lloyd. Regina.
And Mr. Tim, we want to hear your final thoughts and your contact information as well.
I mean, shameless plug for CRM here to manage relationships. I developed a little framework a couple of years back called Quest, right? Qualify the people you want to connect with, right? We do that anyway, right? To echo your point, right? Come to an understanding about how you want to work together. So they're both on the same page. Educate people on what you do. Stay top of mind, and actually thank them for being in your world.
Absolutely.
Right? And it doesn't, as I said, it doesn't take many relationships to potentially completely change what you do and who you do it for, and how many people you can serve. That's my takeaway. My details are there. You can find me on LinkedIn, Tim Hyde CRM. I think I actually come up the top even without my initial, Susan. But that's a really good tip. I like that one. Or jump on. I think my details are in the chat there.
That's because you put so much great information out there. That's why you're out there at the top, darling.
Yeah. This has been great.
I once won an award. This was back in the late noughties for my SEO strategy from Smart Company. I think like smartcompany.com or something.
Right.
And I think my award submission was just like, says, what's your SEO strategy? And I said, we just publish a shitload of content.
Right.
And I think in like 14 years, we'd published 179,000 articles.
Wow.
Wow.
Amazing. All right. Well, we're going to
Jenna.
wrap this up, folks. Thank you so much for being here. Tim, thank you for being our guest co-host and inviting such an amazing group of folks for the panelists. This has been awesome. I truly appreciate all of the wisdom and experiences that you've shared. You've made a difference in our conversation, most definitely, and hopefully in the world as we all seek more collaborations. Remember, stick around for just a moment after we end the show. Don't jump off. And with that, we'll say goodbye to our audience. Thank you for joining us again on Collaboration Conversations. And